Everyone, our lesson for today is The Best Christmas Present in the World by Michael Morpurgo. So, who is Michael Morpurgo? Let us see a short introduction about the author. So, Michael Morpurgo was born on 5th October 1943. He was an author, poet and a playwright. He was best known for children's novel. After pursuing his university study, he became a teacher. In the year 1974, he published his first book. Morpurgo originated the idea of children's laureate role, and he became the third person to fill the two-year position from 2003 to 2005. His work is noted for its magical storytelling. Let us see the characters in this lesson. Jim Macpherson. Jim Macpherson is the leader of the English troupe. Connie Macpherson, she is the wife of Jim Macpherson. Hans Wolf, he is the captain of the German troupe. Apart from these characters, we come across two common names being used in the lesson. One, Fritz. Fritz is a name being given to the German soldiers in general. And Tommy is a name being given to the British soldiers. So these are the characters that we see in the lesson. Do you know which event the dates refer to? 4th July 1776, American Declaration of Independence. On 17 December 1903, Wilbur and Orville Wright made the first flight. 6th August 1945, it is Hiroshima Day, and a most remarkable or an unforgettable day in Japan. 30th January 1948, assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. 12th April 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human to orbit Earth. 20th July 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first human to step on Moon. So let's get started with the lesson. As the author was strolling down through the streets of Bedford, a market town in England, he finds a very old roll-top desk in a junk shop. So this is a roll-top desk, and it was in a very bad condition. It was broken into pieces, and it was in a very pitiable condition with a lot of scotch marks, meaning burnt marks. He paid the shopkeeper and he brought it to his workroom, and he started his work on a Christmas Eve. The narrator started repairing, and he noticed that the veneer has come out. A veneer is a decorative covering of fine wood being used on furniture, and it appeared to be a damage caused due to fire and water. He began pulling out the drawers, but he couldn't do the same with the last one. He couldn't pull out the last drawer. So he used a lot of force to pull it out, and when he pulled out, he saw that there was something inside it. The author finds a small black tin box taped with a notepaper on top, and there was something written on it. So what was it? Jim's last letter, received January 25, 1915, to be buried with me when time comes. The author author felt that what he had done was wrong, but he had to do so out of curiosity and out of a feeling of doubt. There was an envelope inside the box with the name and address of Mrs. Jim MacPherson. The narrator took the letter to read, and he noticed something written on the pencil which said December 26, 1914. The narrator starts reading the letter. The letter was written by Jim MacPherson to his wife Connie in a very happy mood, as there was something delightful incident that had happened. When he was standing in his trench, a trench is a channel-like place used by these army men to stay in times of war. So when he was standing in the trench, he describes about how it was on a Christmas morn. It was so cold and frosty. Jim says that the British or the Tommies should have begun, but it was not as the Fritz had begun. Jim was referring the German soldiers as Fritz. At first he had seen someone waving a white flag from the opposite trench, shouting, "Happy Christmas, Tommy." And some of us shouted and wished them back, says Jim. Suddenly they could see a grey great coat waving a flag and coming towards them. Jim had thought it could be a trick and asked the other soldiers to bend their heads down. But honestly, it wasn't. Jim could see one of the German soldiers waving the bottle above his head. The Fritz are telling the Tommies that it is Christmas Day and they have some alcoholic drinks and meat to eat. He sees men moving towards them without any gun or rifle. Little Private Morris is a British soldier. He was asking the others for what they were waiting for. It was like as if there was no one to stop them. But Jim, who was the officer, should have stopped them, but he did not feel to do so. He saw men in grey and khaki coat standing in the middle of the ground, and Jim was a part of it. He felt it was like peacemaking in the middle of a war. So when Jim meets Fritz, who is a German officer, and his name is Hans Wolf, they both shake hands and introduce themselves to each other. Hans acquainted himself as a cello player in an orchestra. So this is an orchestra, and in this orchestra he was a cello player. He is from Dusseldorf, a city in Germany. In return, Jim introduces himself as a school teacher in Dorset, England, and they both exchange their seasonal greetings and wishes. Hans said that he was very familiar with Dorset. Jim offered his drink and meat, and they both drink and enjoy their conversation. In their further conversation, Jim understands that Hans had never set his foot in Dorset, and all he knew about England was by reading books. And he also added that his favorite writer, that is Hans' favorite writer, was Thomas Hardy, and his favorite book was Madding Crowd. So Thomas Hardy was a famous English novelist. So, as they were talking about Thomas Hardy, who was Hans' favorite English novelist, they began talking about his favorite novel, The Madding Crowd. And in the further conversation, they talk about uh, the characters in that novel. So, Bathsheba, who is a beautiful young heroine of the novel, The Madding Crowd, and then Gabriel Oak, he is a farmer or a shepherd, and he is the main hero of the novel. Sergeant Francis Troy, he was the villain of the novel The Madding Crowd. So he also said that Hans was married and he has a 6-month-old son. Everyone, they were busy smoking, laughing, drinking, eating and talking. So at that moment, Jim decided and he started sharing the leftover cake which Coney had given him. And after tasting it, Hans said that that was the best Christmas cake and the best marzipan he had ever had. They agreed and they carried on with their conversations further. Then they see a man bringing a football, and as they were getting ready to play the game, all the greatcoats were dumped together to make a goal post. And then Fritz, they were standing in the middle of the ground. Hans and Jim, they were looking at seeing the match that was getting ready, and they both were clapping their hands, they were stamping just to keep out the cold. And that was the best moment Jim felt. He felt that both their breath, the breath of the Germans and the British, were mixing up in the air. And slowly he turned and he smiled at Hans. And Jim, that person, was being called out by Hans after a while, and he said, I think this would be the best way to resolve a war through a football match, so that nobody would die in the match and there would not be any child who would become an orphan, nor would there be any wife who would become widows. But Jim, in reply to Hans, he said that he would rather prefer for cricket because the Tommies were quite well off in playing cricket and that they had winning chances more. They both laughed together, they enjoyed watching the game. Both Fritz and Jim, they were cheering up, they laughed and they were enjoying the moment. But at last, after the match was done, Jim, in a sad note, he writes that it was Fritz who had won 2-1. But Hans, who was a very broad-minded person, he said that it wasn't fair. It wasn't a fair game because the German goal was wider than the Tommies. So that is, Fritz's goal was quite wider than the Tommies. So the chances of winning was less for them, and hence it was not a fair game. And everything was smooth and well. And as time went by, the schnapps is a alcoholic drink, and the rum, the meat, the sausage, everything was running out. And it was almost time that they had to leave. Hans and Jim wished Hans. He wished him well, and he said that soon he would join with his family, and that the fighting should end up soon, and that they could go home earlier. And he said that that is what every soldier would want, be it a German or a British. Hans wished him well, and he said that he would never forget this moment, nor would he forget Jim. and slowly he became one among the 100 of grey-coated men, and he slowly drifted away. That night, he could hear a beautiful singing from the Fritz. It was Stille Nacht, the German version of Silent Night, a Christmas carol. In return, they sang the chorus of the song while shepherds watched. They spent some time singing carols. It was a time of peace and goodwill, and they would love to treasure until they lived. So Jim, in his letter, tells Coney that by next year the war would only be a memory, and he had understood how each army men were longing for peace, and with a positive note saying that they shall be together again soon, he ends the letter. The narrator folded the letter and kept it back in the envelope. He was sleepless that night, and by morning he decided and left to Bridport. He inquired for the address to a boy who was walking with his dog, and when he reached the place, he only saw the house was being burnt and that it was in a vandalized state. The narrator then inquires in the next house about the whereabouts of Mrs. Macpherson. There came a man, a lovely old lady, but she was little mad. That's because of her age. 101 years old, said the old man. She was there inside the house when it was on fire, the old man continued. No one knew how the fire started, but guessed it could be because of the candle, as Mrs. Macpherson felt electricity was too costly. The firemen rescued her, and she is now at a nursing home in Burlington House, Dorchester Road. The narrator easily reached the nursing home. He noticed paper chains in the hallway and a beautiful lighted Christmas tree to one corner. He said that he was a friend and had come to meet Miss Macpherson to give her a Christmas present. He sees people in the dining room wearing paper hats to the window. The in-charge woman also had on a hat, and she was very happy to see the narrator. The matron offered the narrator a mince pie. It's a pie made with mixture of dried fruit and spices called the mince meat. They both walked along the corridor, and she said that Mrs. Macpherson did not join the others as she was confused and was left to rest. She had no visitors as she did not have a family and would be very happy to see the narrator. He was taken to a room with glass roof, walls, and wicker chairs. Wicker chairs, so this is a wicker chair, chairs made with very thin pieces of wood twisted together, and with lots of plants around. So he was left there in that conservatory room. Sitting in a wheelchair with her hands on her lap, and she was staring to the window at the plants in the garden. Hello, Happy Christmas, Connie. I found this and I think it's yours, said the narrator. She did not take her eyes off him, but simply gazed at the narrator. He slowly opened the tin box and gave the letter to her. Her face was shining so brightly with happiness, and her eyes lit up with recognition. The author tried to explain about how the letter reached his hand, but it was in vain. Suddenly she stretched her hand and held the narrator's. With tears in her eyes, she said, "You told me you'd come home by Christmas, dearest. And there you are, the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer, Jim dear, and sit down." The narrator sat beside her and she kissed on his cheek. And she said, "I've read your letter so often, every day, and I wanted to hear your voice in my head. It always made me feel you were with me, and now you are. Now you're back, and you can read it to me yourself. Would you do that for me, Jim dear? I just want to hear your voice again. I'd love that so much. And then perhaps we'll have some tea. I've made you a nice Christmas cake, marzipan all around. I know how much you love marzipan." So here, as it was a Christmas day again, that the narrator went to see Mrs. Macpherson, he went to return the husband's letter. The letter was so precious to her, but even more precious was her delusion that the narrator was her husband Jim, whom she believed had returned as promised on Christmas Day. So this was the best Christmas present in the world for her. Thank you.